what's going on, traders? It's Johnny here with Trader X. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into the channel today. I really appreciate it whenever you guys do. And I hope you guys are all having a lovely Friday today. But I wanted to go ahead and give you guys my day trading recap for the day and let you know how my trading did go. And so, as you guys can see on the screen, today was a green day, right? So I was able to end Friday on a green note. I was up $48.77 on the NASDAQ Inverse ETF, ticker symbol SQQQ. And so, yeah, I didn't trade TQQQ today. There wasn't really any particular reason. Well, there actually was one reason, and I'll go ahead and tell you guys that in the breakdown. But for now, these are all my field orders with the timestamps I was trading on the left, the quantity I was trading with right here, the ETF itself here in the middle. I only traded one today, and then the price points here on the right where I was buying in and out and selling. And so pretty much in terms of my trading today, I honestly really enjoyed trading today. It was probably the day out of the week that I enjoyed trading the most. And a big reason for that was I was I was doing a really good job of cutting my losses and following through with my plan. So today, pretty much what I told myself is I'm gonna wait for the market to become, either overextended or oversold and try to, once there's true confirmation, try to take part in some of the change in direction, right? And so, what we saw right at market open was the market started to shoot up all the way up to the top view up, right? So the market itself had a really nice rally pre-market here. And then as the market opened, it's where you see these increase in volume bars, right? Lots of buyers started to come in and there was buying pressure. It shot it all the way up, to almost 12,000. It did end up crossing above 12,000, but as far as the market push, right, it pushed all the way up to 11,980 or so. And from the bigger time frames, right, taking a bigger look at the Nasdaq, this is the Nasdaq the past 10 days. What you'll notice is that it was selling off, right, and now it actually did form this higher low, which is a good sign, especially because if we zoom out on the Nasdaq, you'll see the past 6 months, right, is what we're looking at. The Nasdaq has actually been having a nice decent support right around these levels here, right? So definitely not a bad sign at all for the market to recover. We just need to see how it performs these next few days, next week, right? Because whenever it does correct itself back up to the SMA, it tends to consolidate before it sells off, right? It corrected itself, consolidated, sold off, corrected itself, consolidated, sold off, and now we are back at the SMA testing it. So we'll see what ends up happening there. And in terms of pretty much what I wanted to talk about, the Nasdaq itself was a bit, like I mentioned, overbought at these levels, so it didn't form this higher low, which is a good sign. But what I saw in the morning was the Nasdaq, it's not like it just will start to uptrend forever, right? It tends to have these pullbacks in terms of corrections to the price, right? So as this thing downtrends, this is a good example of what I'm talking about. It doesn't just downtrend, right? It downtrends, corrects itself a bit, downtrends, corrects itself a bit, right? Becomes more overextended, continues to downtrend, corrects itself, downtrend, corrects itself. And so, well, now we are starting to see it uptrend now, right? So as this thing uptrended, it corrected itself a bit. We did push up all the way up in the morning to the top VWAP, and so I thought we were gonna have some form of correction today, to be honest, but that never actually happened. But the beauty about that is the way I was trading today, I really set myself up to succeed. And what I mean by that is, as this thing pushed up to the top VWAP and became overextended, what I decided to do is, what I normally do is I would send an SQQQ play right around these levels, but ultimately what would happen is this thing would continue to uptrend, right? Because it's still riding the EMA line up, and then I would have to take a loss on SQQQ and sell out, right? But instead of doing that, what I decided to do today was wait for true confirmation. So as this thing peaked out and became overextended, I told myself I wasn't going to get in until the Nasdaq actually broke below the EMA line, right? Because up until then, it just wouldn't make sense, right? There was a chance this thing can continue to rally, especially because of the um, heavy volume that we were seeing at market open, right? So once this thing finally decided to break below the EMA, I added to my initial position of 25%. And then as I saw it was struggling to really break above the EMA and it was really just getting rejected, I added 75% of my shares right around this area here. And as it continued to fall, I cut my shares and then sold out of the rest, right? So I was actually pretty green on the day, right? After the first few trades, but I actually gave some profit back, um, and then was able to make some back on top of that near the end of the day. And so pretty much as this thing on this move here, I ended up making some money on SQQQ. And what I did all day was I just waited for this thing, or I was waiting for it to continue to sell off like I thought, but ultimately it didn't do that. As you guys know, this thing would peak back up to its previous overbought levels, and I would continue to try to ride SQs down. And I did get burned a few times, right? Like for example, here it broke below the EMA, and I would get into it, but it would end up popping back up, and I'd have to cut the trade for, to make sure I'm managing my risk. And so that is ultimately in part of this choppiness and sideways trading how I was able to give back a lot of the profit. But then I believe the last move I made money on, it could have honestly been here. I'm not too sure exactly if I remember, but one of these times I was in SQs for a small little dip and I wasn't able to average up, especially because of how choppy the direction was, right? It wasn't actually selling off. So that's ultimately how I was able to make the $48 I made on the inverse ETF today, although the Nasdaq was in the green, right? It was just trying to buy into the inverse ETF. At points I felt the Nasdaq was overbought, averaging up if it made sense. And I did actually only average up once here, I believe. So it's not, you know, like the biggest deal in the world that I didn't average up, especially because I didn't feel like direction was very clear today, right? But I was still ultimately able to walk away with a profit. And so that's just today goes to show a really important lesson, and it's you really got to stick with your trade, with any trading setup you have, any criteria you set for yourself entering any trade. You really, really want to hold yourself accountable to every trade you take, right? Because when you enter a trade and all it takes is that one trade where you don't manage your risk to really ruin yourself for even the week, right? All it takes is one bad trade to put you in a bad spot for not only the day, the week, the month it could be, depending on how bad of a loss it is, right? So that's why we really got to make sure that every trade we enter, we're managing risk. We know exactly where we are going to cut the trade before we enter the trade, right? So as I get into a trade, I make sure I tell myself, well, at least today, right? You guys know, this previous week I didn't do a very good job of managing risk, or the past week that I was trading, so I have been struggling with that. But at least today, right? Take today for example, I felt like I did a good job of averaging up when it made sense and cutting my losses quick, right? So say I got into SQs as this thing broke below. If this thing were to break above the EMA, I typically wait to see if it's able to hold above the EMA, right? If it is, then I cut it right away if I'm in the inverse ETF. But if it isn't and it starts to fall, I'll average up and cut the shares at a smart point, right? So that's ultimately everything I wanted to talk with you guys about today. It's mainly when we're day trading, we want to go with the flow and the direction that it's currently having. So this thing could be downtrending and getting rejected by the EMA, but it could all of a sudden change direction, right, and start riding it up. So we just got to make sure we're investing in something that's growing in value at the moment, right? Because we are day trading it, and yeah, make sure we manage that risk. Two very important things that I thought I did a good job of today. But yeah, that's ultimately everything I wanted to leave you guys with. If you are new to the channel, we really do appreciate if you guys like and subscribe the video. It really, really helps us out, and we appreciate every single one of you. If you guys have any stocks you want me to break down, just go ahead and drop a comment below and I will go ahead and break it down in one of the next videos. But next week I will be paper trading. My brother will be the one posting the video, so he will talk to you guys then. But I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend and stay safe, and I will see you guys then. Take care.